Heidi ho, how's it go? Today we are rating and ranking the 8 studio albums of Stone Temple Pilots. With me today is Rob from Massachusetts. Rob, like me, is a Taste Like Music fan. How long have you been a Taste Like Music fan, Rob?
About now 3 years
Yeah, okay.
following their channel.
Yeah. And you occasionally show up in the comment section.
I do. I
Yeah.
actually like some of their requests they give for new albums. I'm a big modern day fan and trying to get into it a little bit more, and they give great suggestions.
Yeah, yeah, they're very fun to watch, and it's a great community on Discord. It's only $1 a month, and you get to hang out with cool music freaks like yourself. Anyway, yeah, so Stone Temple Pilots. I first became aware of STP when I saw their video for Plush on MTV. I was instantly hooked. I couldn't get enough of that song, actually. And suffice it to say, I became a big fan from that point on. How about you, Rob?
Actually, there was a kid on my high school basketball team named Rich. I got into him a bit late in
Hmm.
'93, believe it or not. I mentioned that Nirvana and Pearl Jam were like my favorite bands at the time. Wasn't really big into music, but he made a tape of the Stone Temple Pilots for me of Core, and needless to say, I was hooked.
Excellent. All right. Well, it's nice that we'll be making a video of fans. We don't have any major haters, but we'll see where the bottom lands. You want to go ahead and kick us off since you're the guest?
Sure thing.
All
At
right.
number 8 on my list, we got Perdita from 2020. It is a all acoustic album recorded on vintage instruments. It explores their folk and country roots, maybe a little bossa nova and ragtime, were like the influences of some of their biggest hits. Um, while there are good songs on this album individually, as a whole, it is a bit of a drag because there's not enough variety on there. However, it is like a passion project I can see that just came out at the wrong time. With the new singer, Jeff Gutt, it just lacks any memorable melodies that Scott would have provided. And Fare Thee Well and the title track are probably my favorites. Years was sung by Robert, which I thought was an okay song. But overall, it was a bit of a drag to get through rather. My rating is 2 out of 5.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think
It's a
that is a
slog.
common bottom. And here's where the part where I piss off a ton of STP fans. I guarantee you some of them will shut the video off after this point. My number 8 is their third album, Tiny Music. It's from 1996, and I was majorly disappointed when this album came out. I felt it was a sharp decline from their previous work. It's funny that one of the songs is called Ride the Cliche because I feel they write a few of them here. It seems like they were running out of ideas both lyrically and musically. Scott, which caused them to come up with some weird choices, in my opinion. Scott Weiland really lets me down in the vocal department. The way he is singing is interesting. The way he uses a higher register, he sounds less like Jim Morrison. Unfortunately, I don't like what he is actually singing most of the time. The album begins with an instrumental centered around an organ, which lets the listener know we are moving into unknown territory for STP. Okay, fine. But then we get Pops Love Suicide, which just sounds like a desperate stab at being cool that ends up making Weiland sound like a poser. Next song, Tumble in the Rough, with music and lyrics written by Weiland, is an improvement. But then we get Big Bang Baby, which is so try hard and forced. Big Bang Baby, it's a crash, crash, crash. Please. They try for a glam style, but can't pull it off. However, there is one song I would call excellent, and that would be the Beatlesque Lady Picture Show. But as for the next song, back in the day, I was baffled by the retro Herb Alpert lounge sound of And So I Know, wondering what such a mellow song was doing on an STP record. Today, I can appreciate it. It's an appropriate song to close out side one, I'll give it that. Opening side two, Tripping on a Hole in a Papal Heart, is cool despite some tired lyrics, especially I'm Dead and I'm Not for Sale. First time I heard that, I just rolled my eyes. When I originally thought the guitar solo was borderline atonal, I've come to appreciate its hyperkinetic style. Without a doubt, Dean DeLeo is a damn good guitarist who turns in some other-worthy solos on this album. His brother kills it on bass, and the drummer is great too. But Trippin' still sounds forced and cliche to me, and the rest of side two is all downhill. Art School Girl seems to portray a rocky relationship, but I can't stand the hyper repetitive chorus that goes, I told you 5 or 4 times. I told you 5 or 4 times. I told you 5 or 4 times. Fuck. The song seems to have taken inspiration from Tripping Daisy's I Got a Girl. And what the hell is going on with the next song, Adhesive? Despite the bass being turned way up, it does nothing for me musically until an odd trumpet makes an appearance. The guitar and guitar solo on Ride the Cliche are good, but the song sucks, and so does Weiland here, with lyrics like Hold Me Closer, Let Me Be. Just weak. Daisy is a bit of acoustic guitar and slide boredom that has no business on a rock record by STP, and the last song is just okay. 2 stars for Tiny Music. This is mediocre and pretentious.
Wow. That's going to be higher on my list. However, I can see your point. I can definitely see your point. Coming in at number 7 for me is the self-titled from 2017. Needless to say, Jeff Gutt rather, I admit is a really good singer, a bit of a Scott Weiland clone, but he doesn't provide the same melodies as Scott would. And I would describe this as more their safest album, in my opinion. It doesn't take any chances at all. While it isn't a terrible album by any means, maybe just a mediocre one. Middle of Nowhere starts off, which I think describes their mindset at the time. Needless to say, they fired a singer who passed away. They hired a new singer who passed away. They were stuck in a rut and had nowhere to go. Basically, what's missing is Scott Weiland's vocal melodies on this album. Middle of Nowhere is a good song. I also like Meadow a good bit. That actually has a very catchy melody, nice strong guitar there. Just a Little Lie is not a bad song at all. I actually don't mind that. 6-8, I actually enjoy that one a good deal. That one's got a good hard rock guitar sound. Roll Me Under was fine, you know. But again, I know it seems a little front loaded to me, but it just doesn't work as well as an entire whole. And I probably won't be returning to this one. I mean, I think it would be a much better album if it wasn't called a Stone Temple Pilots album because you have a lot to live up to because you have big shoes to fill, and I'm not sure he's there to fill them. So I have this at 2.5 out of 5.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. He's no Scott Weiland. And oh, you said it came out in 2017. Are you sure about that? I got 2018.
Maybe 2018. I'll double check.
Okay, yeah, I was just asking because I was wondering if, maybe it came out in New Zealand first in 2017. They do weird things like that sometimes.
Oh, 2018. You're right.
Okay, yeah. All
That
right,
just shows how
cool.
much I paid attention to these albums.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I mean, you got to watch out for Apple Music and places like that because they can be wrong
Yeah.
sometimes. So
Could
anyway,
be.
my number seven, I've got their fifth album, Shangri-La-Di-Da. It's from 2001. Apparently, they were swinging for the fences with this one, hoping for a double album, but it didn't quite happen. Although at 13 standard length tracks, it was close. Blame the CD era for that. Some stupid reason they demanded long albums. Nothing here can touch their best music, but a few songs come close. I dig the turning guitars on Coma, and Hollywood Bitch kicks some ass. I will call Wonderful a good song despite some dumb lyrics. If I were to die this morning, would you tell me things that you wouldn't have? Would you be my navigator? Would you take me to a place where we could hide? No, she can't do that, dude, because you're dead. Sure, you could call these lyrics poetic, but for me, it kind of bugs. Suffice it to say, Weiland is not my favorite lyricist. Sometimes he can pull it off, other times he just falls flat on his face. Hello, It's Late, which was written during the Purple era, has an exceptional melody, keys, and a great guitar solo. Too Cool Queenie, purportedly about Courtney Love, is even better. Regeneration is a bit of a mess, but it rocks. Unfortunately, there are some tracks here I don't like. I have always found Days of the Week to be a turnoff. I'm not sure why, but I don't dig it. I think Bipolar Bear is fairly mediocre, and A Song for Sleeping particularly irks. It's about his son, but I hate the BS lyrics about God, God in quotes. I can't stand it when people act like they have knowledge of the supernatural when they don't. The last track, Long Way Home, is just pretty good. It is heavy. There's some cool stop-start guitar, and it gets kind of Zeppelin at the end. But once it starts getting really good, it fades out, and that's the end of the album. I hate it when songs do that. So this album is a mixed bag. Some very good songs, but nothing here is excellent. And there's a lot about this album that turned me off, so I'm at 3 stars.
Okay. Well, number 6. Well, first off, I want to let everyone know from this point on, I recommend all these STP albums. I really enjoyed all of these. And coming in at number 6 is Shangri La Di Da, which may be controversial to some, but this was planned to be a double album, like you were saying, dedicated to the memory of Andrew Wood, who was going through his own drug problem at the time, or actually died of drugs, who Scott Weiland was going through his own drug problem at the time. And believe it or not, it kind of feels like a summary of the first four albums combined. You know, uh, Days of the Week, I thought was the first strong single. Coma sounds like a bit of an outtake on number 4, the album number 4. Hollywood Bitch is a killer song. I agree there. And that definitely has a great driving feel. The highlights for me, however, on this album are the ballads. Wonderful. I actually really do enjoy. Hello, It's Late is a great song. I really like that ballad. It kind of sounds like where they could have gone with Perdita and if Scott had made that album. Too Cool Queenie was a good, solid song. Kind of a stab at Courtney Love, which you gotta love that, you know. And but however, it does feel like the end of an era, you know. Feels like their book is closed. Like things would never be the same after this. And believe it or not, starting with Bipolar Bear, it was a bit of a drag to get through the rest. Song for Sleeping was, okay. It was a pleasant enough song dedicated to his son Noah, which I thought was pretty pleasant. But again, nothing completely memorable on this album. So, I mean, I'd have to go down to 3 stars, but I will say there are some good songs and it's a worthwhile listen.
All right, good stuff, Rob. That's fair. Okay, my number 6 is Perdita. Their eighth and most recent album came out in 2020. An acoustic folk album is not really what I want from STP, but I always try to judge albums according to how they are and not how I want them to be. About half of these songs are very good. They're filled out with some nice piano and other keyboards, the occasional flute, cello, violin, viola, sax. The title track has a nice Spanish flavor. You Found Yourself While Losing Your Heart is the only mid song here. Everything else is at least good. I think Weiland's replacement, Jeff Gutt, is in fine voice, and the band sounds as good as could be expected considering what they were going for. On the other hand, nothing here can come close to touching a top shelf acoustic STP track with Weiland, such as Creep. But I think that this is good enough to call it a good album, so I'm at 3.5 stars.
All right. That high. Wow. I wish I had liked that album the same as you. I just couldn't get into that one. However, this one is my surprise of the list. This was a really big surprise. I got the self titled at number 5 from 2010. This was actually my first time hearing this one in full. And this is the first album not to be produced by Brandon O'Brien. This is an album, I feel like they wear their influences on their sleeve a little too much. Kind of like a mid-level power pop album, if you ask me, which I love power pop. I'm not ashamed to admit it. A lot of retro flavors on this. You can definitely hear Aerosmith and Huckleberry Crumble for sure. You can hear a little bit of David Bowie influence on Dare If You Dare and First Kiss on Mars. And I can even hear a little Red Cross and Fast as I Can, which I really enjoyed. Between the Lines was actually the first single, which is a really good song. But this was a bit of a reunion album, and I like this album because it showed them a different direction and where to go. Where the Shangri La Di Da really closed the chapter quite smoothly. They kind of went off and did their Velvet Revolver and Army of Anyone, to kind of took a break from each other, and kind of reunited and kind of made a really good power pop album. And believe it or not, like I actually like all the songs on this album. Bagman happens to be my favorite song. I really like that one a good deal. Hazy Days rather, had a great guitar lick. I really enjoyed that one. And yeah, I think all the songs in this album are really, really catchy, even though they're not their strongest singles that they could put out. But I think all the singles are all the songs, however, are very strong. And I give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is actually a really good album and a very big surprise for me.
Okay, cool. I was thinking you might even go higher. You're a bit of a tough grader, but no, that was a good review. Good stuff.
Hmm.
All right. My number five is number four. Obviously, their fourth album came out in 1999 at the height of the new metal craze. This is a heavy album, possibly their heaviest, although that's tough to gauge. Opener Down is definitely heavy, very grungy. Unfortunately, there are some mid tracks here, and the rather monotone MC5 is just a mad track for me. But Pruno rocks. By the way, do you know what Pruno is? It's basically alcohol fermented in a prison cell from fruit juice and whatnot. I've read that it's dangerous stuff, really nasty. But anyway, not exactly a great song, but it's heavy. Sour Girl is more of a pop song, the most popular song on the album, and I don't know why I don't like it more than I do. It's good, but merely good. I think I Got You would have made a better single. The chorus on that one is very strong, and I like the lyrics. No Way Out has new metal overtones, a good stop-start groove, and the electronic percussion definitely fits the bill for new metal. Glide is a very good song, and Scott hits some impressive high notes. But it reminds me a little too much of an earlier, better song they did, Still Remains. The first line of the final song, Atlanta, starts off with the exact melody of These Are a Few of My Favorite Things from The Sound of Music. If you can get past that, it's a very good sort of a ballad, which includes some timpani and orchestral bells. The song and the album ends with marimba. Very strange. I think it's clear the band worked hard on this record and tried to add creative elements beyond just heavy rocking. The album is heavy like core with some of the outside influences of Tiny Music, but it's not nearly as good as core. There are a handful of very good songs, but nothing here is excellent. And like I said, there are some just okay songs and even worse in one instance. I will give this album a generous 3.5 stars. It qualifies as a good album, but just barely. I put it above Perdita, which scored higher, but I prefer the heavy rock over the acoustic folk.
Nice. Yeah, believe it or not, my number four is number four. Yeah, from 1999. Yeah, this is their heaviest album. I do agree with that for sure. But this is actually the first time in their career I believe they're genuinely starting to slip a little. You could tell the drugs have really taken over in Scott, you know, uh, which was a shame because they it did produce some great music in the past, but you could tell it's really grabbed a hold of him now. Uh, what do you call it? This is when he basically broke up with his wife at the time, had a separation apparently. Um, so you could tell the album was very dark, very even kind of sinister to agree, with some lighter pop moments. Down was a very heavy stomp rocker. I really liked that one. And Heaven and Hot Rods was actually one of my favorite songs. What a banger that is. I really enjoyed that one. And I think the reason why this album didn't get as much publicity as it should is because he was on his way to serving prison time, you know? Because believe it or not, there are some hidden gems in this album. You were mentioning I Got You and Glide, fantastic songs. I really like those. Sour Girl was the biggest hit, which Scott basically told the record company to release, you know, and it became their biggest hit, believe it or not. I can't believe it was their biggest hit. No Way Out, I thought was a really good rocker. I actually enjoyed that song. It's really a bit of a darkness. You can feel like the heaviness, like there was no way out of the situation that he was in with the drug use. I Got You is qualified as the worst STP song, no doubt. Absolutely the worst song. But believe it or not, Jim Morrison makes an appearance, not really, in Scott's head with Atlanta. He does his best Jim Morrison impression. And I actually love the vocal on that. Um, I believe it or not, that one was kind of felt heartfelt for me. It kind of feels like you were at loss. You lost somebody that you really loved, that you had it, you had him, but you lost him due to your own, you know, mistakes that you made. And I really enjoyed that album. And overall, this is a 3.5 out of 5. I actually enjoyed number 4.
All right,
Really good. Love it.
cool. My number four is their seventh album, Stone Temple Pilots from 2018. Scott Weiland was already out of the Pilots for 2 years before he tragically died. Just an incredible loss for those who loved him and the music world as a whole. STP tried on Chester Bennington of Lincoln Park fame for size, and he would turn out to be another terrible loss. They only managed one EP, which I thought was good, especially the first track, but the last few tracks aren't as good, and that is perhaps an indication why they didn't go for a full album. It wasn't until 5 years later that STP returned with a new album and a new singer, Jeff Gutt. Like you said, Jeff is a Wyland clone. Like Scott, he's got some Lane Staley in his voice. The lyrics may as well be Scott's because they're similar in terms of lyrics. On a good day, Scott on a good day, they're not bad lyrics. The Stone Temple Pilots band, of course, can be counted on to kick some ass, which they do. Some of this album sounds like good alt rock, such as on the Streamlined Meadow, while elsewhere they retain some of the Southern rock influence they brought to the previous self-titled album. Never Enough chugs along with that flavor. Then it slows down and gets dreamy in the chorus. Great guitar solos. There are some more mellow acoustic songs, including The Art of Letting Go, one of the best songs here. The only song I would call mid is the second track, Guilty, the weakest track. Pretty much everything else is solid. It ranks higher than number four because four had some mid songs and a meh. But I don't want to imply that I think Gut is better than Weiland because Weiland is clearly the superior singer. So I'm at another 3.5 stars.
Wow. I wish I liked those albums more. I honestly wish I could like them as much as you do. I swear, I tried too. I listened to each of them 3 times. Wow.
I'm known for liking later period albums by people. Like, for example, with Fleetwood Mac, a lot of people trash those later period albums, but I find things to like about them. So, That could
Yeah.
be a particular quirk on my part.
Yeah. And one quirk on your part is my number three album. You ranked at your bottom, which is Tiny Music, Songs from the Vatican Gift Shop from 1996. Um, this is them at their most experimental, I believe. Uh, the sound wasn't as muddy this time around. It was a very clean sound, which I mean, it was a different side to them because you don't want to make the same albums over and over and over again, get repetitive. And believe it or not, I actually really enjoyed this album. Big Bang Baby was their first single off this album. I remember very well because I was like, that's Jumpin' Jack Flash, you know? But I do enjoy the song. I really do. And then, but Tripping on a Hole in a Paper Heart is a fantastic bass line, which, believe it or not, I can hear Robert taken from an old Motown song called Reach Out, I'll Be There from the Four Tops. You could hear it. You could hear the influence there. Like you were saying, Adhesive has a really good trumpet solo. I really enjoyed that one. Seven Cage Tigers. That was a bit of a like solid rocker that's really chill, which is something I really enjoyed about that song. I actually don't mind Art School Girl as much as you. I think it's fun, you know? Uh Tumble in the Rough. That's an interesting song because that is the first song Scott Weiland wrote on his own. You know, first solo song he wrote was Tumble in the Rough that was recorded. Um, and Pop's Love Suicide is a good psychedelic pop track. I really enjoyed that song. And yeah, but Ride the Cliche, I get it. It is cliche for sure. And but overall, I actually like this album a good deal. It doesn't rank in my top two. I see that we have the same top two, which I'm happy to hear. And I still have this at 3.5 stars. However, I think it's a higher version of 3.5.
Okay, 3.5.
Uh-huh.
Nice. All right. And when you mentioned how Scott wrote that song, it reminded me of his solo album, 12 Bar Blues. People, you don't want to miss 12 Bar Blues. That album is gold as far as I am concerned. It's Beatlesque in places. Oh, it's don't
Yeah.
miss it.
Actually, most people don't know this, but on that 12 Bar Blues album, there's a song toward the end of the album called Mockingbird Girl, which is actually recorded by his side project called The Magnificent Bastards. And that song came out in the Tank Girl soundtrack. I remember that so vividly. I actually bought that soundtrack for that song, not
Cool.
knowing the rest of the album was terrible.
Oh no. Yeah, I never heard it.
Uh,
Oh, all right. So my number three is the first self-titled album. It's their sixth album. It came out in 2010. For me, this is an amazing comeback and one last hurrah for Scott Weiland before destroying himself a few years later. I love the Southern rock influence they bring here. Dean's guitar lines are so loose. Their influences are quite evident, and that's fine by me because this band takes those influences and does their own thing with them. Yes, Huckleberry Crumble would not exist without Aerosmith's Same Old Song and Dance, but damn, it's tight. This album is not peak STP, but it's close. Opener Between the Lines has some road verses, but it rocks. Take a Load Off takes it up a notch. And then the previously mentioned Huckleberry Crumble is gold. Hazy Days is also gold. Great guitar riff, killer bass. Cinnamon is a light and fluffy pop song, so it sticks out as an unusual track. It's a bit sing-songy, a bit nyanny nyanny boo boo, but it is catchy, and I will say it's a good song. A few other tracks are merely good, but nothing here is less than good. There are 12 tracks here, and five of them are excellent. So that is what I'm rating this album, 4.5 stars. For me, it is indeed an excellent album.
Nice. I was totally stunned by that album. Believe it or not, I only listened to it three times, but I know I'm going to listen to it more, and I think that album's going to rise up in my rankings because I really like that album. I'm glad you like that one as well.
Yeah, I remember hearing it when it came out. I got the CD and I had a job driving around picking up stuff in a truck, and we played that in the truck, and that's the memory attached to that album. But yeah, I totally dig it.
Let's see if we could get the same top spot. Drum roll, please. My number two is Core from 1992. Uh, First time I heard this album, I heard Dead and Bloated, the Bullhorn. Oh my gosh, I was hooked. And believe it or not, there are just four of the catchiest sections of that. It is a very repetitive song when you think about it, but my God, is it catchy, you know? And I was a little late to this one. It came out in 92 and I listened to it for the first time in 93. And first time I heard Sex Type Thing, it was familiar to me, but I didn't know it was STP. And my gosh, it was a killer song. And one of my favorite songs when I was a kid was Wicked Garden. Oh my gosh, I loved that song. It felt like a anthem. It was just like, but nowadays it kind of seems a little generic compared to the rest of their catalog. But my God, is it just such an anthem to me? I loved it. And No Memory is a nice little interlude that leads into one of my fondest memories of this album, which was Sin. Uh, I was listening to the lyrics of this one recently, and it like hit home, really hit you hard, mainly because you didn't realize he was falling into that with Down You Go, Suffer Long, Down You Go, Sin Make Me Strong. Yeah. And it was a tough one to listen to for sure. And Creep, we all know is a great song, fantastic acoustic number. And another one that was a little bit nostalgic for me was Piece of Pie. Oh my gosh, that song absolutely rules. That little gallop drum beat, that is just so amazing to me. And Plush, everybody knows this is a big hit. A lot of people don't realize this was started out as a ragtime tune. Uh, I got that from an interview from Robert. I thought that was very interesting, and for him to turn it into what he did, holy crap! Some of the chord progressions. I mean, you never heard this in like, at least I never heard it in pop music before. Some of these chord progressions, and Cracker Man, which I think is a fantastic song. However, it does sound like a sex type thing, little bit of a rewrite of that song. Where the River Goes may be my least favorite song on this album, mainly because of its length. It is over 8 minutes, but it is a good song. And overall, this album is a classic for a reason. And I have this at 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is an album of the year contender.
All right, nice. Okay, so what's it gonna be? Purple or core? I am going with Core. It's the debut. It's from 1992. So when this came out, STP got loads of criticism for it. They were accused of jumping the grunge bandwagon, of being a cheap imitation, but I didn't give a fuck about any of that. And neither did most of the public, as they were hugely popular despite what the critics had to say. For me, it got heavy rotation during 1993, which is my favorite year in life. It is indeed grungy, very heavy. Opener Dead and Bloated really sets the scene. Just that crushing heaviness. Sex Type Thing is a dark portrayal of toxic masculinity that was wildly misunderstood. But Scott is playing a character here. Sin is another incredibly powerful slow rocker. Awesome bass, awesome vocals from Scott. I love the acoustic intro and outro. Creep, another another killer. A slow acoustic number in D minor, very sad. Plush still sounds amazing to me with that addictive rhythm. I have come to appreciate the lyrics despite how nonsensical they are, especially the part that goes, and I feel when the dogs begin to smell her. Will she smell alone? Like, what the fuck? But I don't know. I just kind of compartmentalized that from the first time I heard it. It's like, okay, that's weird. Moving on. It's just it's more of an alternative rock track than a grunge track, I guess you might say, if you had to label it. It's kind of its own thing, though. I just think it's brilliant. The weakest track, I think, is Naked Sunday, but even that one is reasonably good. Pretty much everything else is gold. Core is gold. 5 stars.
Yeah. Yeah. It was tough to not leave that at 5 stars, but I think my overexposure of some of those hits kind of dragged it down a little bit for me. But number one, the best Stone Temple Pilots album is Purple from 1994. Uh, I actually bought this the day it came out. This was the This is actually, believe it or not, my own memories of this is the first 5 star album I ever bought with my own money. The first perfect album I heard with my own money. I bought some albums before, but this was the first. And that, for that reason, it holds a very special place in my heart. And Meat Plow was just such a driving rhythm. I absolutely love that song. Everybody knows Vaseline, but the part that makes that song so good to me is the bridge. You see the look and you'll see the lies. Oh my gosh, it's so
Yeah.
good. I love the drums on Loungefly. Really, really good drum pattern there. Interstate Love Song is obviously a classic, but that chord progression, wow. Who would have thought of that? And that was supposed to be a bossa nova song, according to Robert. That's what I thought was interesting. Still remains, like you were saying, one of the best songs Stone Temple Pilots ever created, in my opinion. Uh, Pretty Penny is a nice waltz on acoustic. I remember that song played on uh, MTV Video Music Awards, if I recall correctly. Um, I do like the bongos in that; gives it a nice touch. Silver Gun Superman is a sounds like a core leftover, but my God, does it rock! It's like it kind of reminds me in a strange way, not sonically, but like of Territorial Pissings from Nirvana. That one song that you kind of forget how much it rocks. This is one of their best songs. I love that one so much. And Army Ants kind of goes down as one of their punkiest songs. I really like that one. Big Empty is obviously a classic banger. Unglued has a really good guitar riff. I mean, and believe it or not, Kitchenware and Candy Bars just floats along nicely to end off with which are 12 gracious melodies, which leads me to a 5-star album. This album is perfect in any way. I wouldn't change a note. I love this album.
Cool. But what do you think of the hidden track?
The 12 gracious melodies. I love
Yeah,
them.
at the end. You like
I
that?
actually love it. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of like a celebration. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you could tell it's very interesting, you know? It's kind
Uh,
of goofy, but I mean, everything at that point was like so serious, you know? The songs were great, and you kind of had to give it a little bit of a light. There was a little, adds a little bit of lightness to it. It was kind of cool. I liked it.
yeah. Yeah, my number one is gotta be Purple, their second album. It's from 1994. It was very hard deciding which album to put on top, but I had to go with Purple because they really take it up a notch and expand their sound. This album has much more in the way of STP's unique identity, brilliantly constructed songs with genius choruses and bridges. Opener Meat Plow gets your attention right away with slash and burn guitar, while the churning Vaseline is totally mesmerizing. Loungefly, you're right, those drums are brilliant. I actually think it's one of the weakest songs here, but it's still excellent. Interstate Love Song, huge mega hit, deservedly so. Despite some weak lyrics, such as Do You Laugh or Does It Cry? Uh, Lyrics like this annoy me because it wouldn't take but a few tweaks to make them coherent. However, I don't let the lame lyrics ruin the song for me, not in the slightest. I love the song. There is one song, though, that I don't care for, and it almost caused me to put Purple at number two, and that would be Pretty Penny. It's okay, but I never liked it. The guitar sounds rather atonal to me. The singing sounds kind of atonal. It's got those Sonic Youth notes that just don't appeal to me. Um, but then we get the second side, which is wall to wall gold. Silver Gun Superman is such an awesome rocker. And I love the way it goes off the rails at the end with that rogue bass. Just suddenly the bass starts going, and it falls apart in a spectacular way. But Big Empty, Unglued, Army Ants, Kitchenware, and Candy Bars, also incredibly great. I even dig the hidden track, a joke song that sounds like Johnny Mathis. Despite having one mid-song, the sheer artistic leap and creativity on display demands that I put this at number one. 5 out of 5. All right. So did you make a top 10 songs?
I did. And
Okay.
believe it or not, ranking the albums was hard enough, but this was the worst part, ranking their songs, because I could have chose about 50 of them. I mean, there were just so many great songs to me. Um, at number 10 on my favorite songs list, I got from Purple, Silver Gun Superman. At number 9 from Core, I got Wicked Garden. Number 8 from Tiny Music, I got Tripping on a Hole in a Paper Heart. Number 7 from Purple, I got Unglued. Number six. This is the song that grew on me the most from this listening experience. From number four, Atlanta. I love that song. Number five, the song that started it all from Core, Dead and Bloated. Love that. Number four, from Tiny Music, your favorite song, Rich, Lady Pitcher Show. Love that song. The best song on uh, Tiny Music.
We can agree on that.
Number three, from Purple, Still Remains. Just a classic song. And I hate to be little mainstream here, but number two from Core, Plush. It's just a classic. I mean, I can never get enough of it, you know? And number one from Purple is Interstate Love Song. The power of that song is phenomenal. I can't talk right now. Phenomenal. The chord progression really blew me away because when I learned how to play that, or at least tried to learn how to play it, yeah, I couldn't. The chord progression is very complicated. I'm like an amateur guitarist, needless to say.
All right. Well, all of my top 10 songs come from Core and Purple. So
Hmm.
my number 10 is Kitchenware and Candy Bars. Number 9 is Sin. And I think that has to include the No Memory intro. That's kind of essential, I think. Number 8 is Vaseline. Number 7 is Big Empty. Number 6 is Meat Plow. Like you, my number 5 is Dead and Bloated. Number 4 is Sex Type Thing. Number 3 is Interstate Love Song. And I also have Plush at number 2, but my number 1 has got to be Still Remains.
Yeah.
All
Wow.
right. I think we did a pretty good job here today. Very happy with the way this video turned out. And any final thoughts about STP?
Yeah, if anybody has ever heard the Talk Show album, you should definitely give that one a listen. Came out in '97. This is when Scott was going through his drug rehabilitation, and they went on with a different singer, the DeLeo brothers and Kretz. It's actually a really good album. And you were mentioning 12 Bar Blues. Definitely check that album out.
Yeah.
That album is great as well.
Yeah. I
And
think the talk show album is good. I don't like the name of the band. I don't really like the cover of the album with the mannequins. And it didn't seem to rock as hard as they're capable of. It was sort of a mushy rock sound, but I thought it was good. So, yeah, check that out. All right, Rob, I think we're all set here. So, thanks for joining me today.
thank you for having me.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good one.